Okay, so in this example, we're going to practice taking these decimals and writing them as a fraction or mixed number, okay? Or a fraction in lowest terms as well. So the way we're going to do this is we're going to take 4 and 0.4 rather, and we're going to start by writing 4 in the denominator, or excuse me, in the numerator, and then we're going to write the denominator as a power of 10 based on how many places there are after the decimal point. Okay, so to the right. So there's one digit, so there's one place value to the right, so we're going to write it as 10 to the 1. Okay, so we don't need the 1 there since it's always implied if it's not there. So 4 over 10, so 4 tenths, which is equal to, again, if we want to reduce this, we got to find the greatest common divisor of 4 and 10, which is 2. So this becomes 2 fifths, and so this is the answer. Okay, so 0.4 is the same as 2 fifths. Now what about this one, 0.075? Okay, so now we're gonna, again, we're gonna ignore the decimal point and any leading zeros here. Okay, so we're gonna treat this as a whole number and ignore the leading zeros. So we're gonna put 75 over, well, now how many place values do we have after the decimal point? Well, we have 3, so we're gonna write this as 10 to the third, or 1,000, okay? So now we're going to reduce. Okay, well, 25 is the greatest common divisor that will both divide 75 and 1,000. So let's do that. So if we divide 75 by 25, we get 3. And if we divide 1,000 by 25, what do we do there? Well, in this case, it'd be 40, right? Because 25 goes into 100 4 times, and then we have an extra 0, so it's going to be 40, okay? And so the answer is 3/40. Okay, now what about this one? Now we got 3.17. So again, we ignore the decimal and we write 317 over 100, right? Because there's 2 place values, so it's going to be 10 squared or 100. Now, we're going to reduce. So we've got to find a greatest common factor here, but in this case it's an improper fraction. So let's change it to a mixed number first. So 100 goes into 300 3 times, so we get 3. And then we get what? We get 17 over 100. Now in this case here, 17 is a prime number. And 17 does not divide 100, so we're done. This is in lowest terms. Now another way to do this is you could just write this as a whole number. See how we got the 3 here? So if there's any digits, now again, this is not in the steps, but if there are any digits to the left, non-zero digits to the left, right, then we can take that as a whole number. So for example, if I just made up a number and said 12.167, right, well what I could do is, one, I could just take this 12, since I already have 12 whole numbers plus a fraction, right? So there's a whole part and a fractional part. So instead of going through this part, which again is valid, and make sure you know how to do this, but there's always another way. In many cases, not always, but in many cases there's always another way to get to the end result. So in this case here, I can just treat this as a separate, right? Because the decimal point separates the whole number from the fractional part. So this, I can immediately say that there's going to be 12, and now I can just deal with this part, and this is 167 over what? 1,000. And then what I could do is I could reduce this part, and the 12 just gets carried along. Okay, so that's another way to do that one. But that's it for this example. Have a great day.